I'm here to talk about two intersecting topics which I'm hugely passionate about. One is digital transformation, and the other is the intersection with our early talent schemes and all the skills that come with it. But look, I wanted to start first with a bit about Mars. I think you'll see from my background that we're more than just a Mars bar, and lots of people don't realize that. So you can see we are quite a bit bigger. So around 130,000 employees, over 40 billion in revenue, many famous brands across the bottom there, 10 of which are over $1 billion in revenue. Plus we're the biggest vet in the world as well. So so lots to learn. We're family owned and run, guided by our 5 principles, which are getting on for 70 years old now, and led by our more recent purpose. The world we want tomorrow starts with how we do business today. There's a quick video, and that's why I'm presenting, because we couldn't make the tech work otherwise. So I'll let you watch the video, and it explains a bit more about Mars and who we are. So there you go. It's all about Mars with jazzy music to include it. Hopefully you could hear it. Yeah, I know that was the concern. So look, back to our digital strategy. So in a nutshell, this is our digital strategy, 100x. We see this as fundamental to our strategy. It's about accelerating the reshaping of Mars and creating value 100 times faster than we have done historically. And it's happening. We're building capabilities faster, more relevant to consumers and business insights than as before. And as a $40 billion business, it's quite hard to deliver that measurable value at speed and at scale. But our digital strategy is allowing us to do more of this. And the momentum is accelerating across both our traditional CPG businesses, pet food, chocolate, gum, but also in our veterinary businesses. And it's more true and needed, frankly, than ever before. Look, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and I do hope all of you and your friends and family are safe. But it's immersed us in a situation unlike anything we've ever seen before. It demands we work together in a more virtual and digital way, find calm when we can, communicate digitally, collaborate digitally, all while taking care of ourselves, friends, and our families. There was no playbook for this. The key was striking the right balance between short and long term, in the knowledge that this crisis will pass. And I know for us based in the UK, and I think the US as well, I think it does seem to be improving, which is great. And look, Mars is being guided by its 5 principles and led by our purpose. And we're looking to take the actions today, as we say, that will set up the world we want tomorrow. And the foundation work we put in over the last few years has really paid off. As I said, I've moved to pet care, so I'm slightly biased, but I've seen our ability to quickly build and leverage our digital channels has meant we're winning versus much of the competition, and we're really weathering this storm. We've been focused on getting the products that people and their pets rely on delivered to people's homes, and keeping the 2,500 veterinary hospitals open, looking after the health of all those millions of pets that we serve. So if 100x is what we want to achieve, then our digital engine is how we achieve it. So this is where I want to go into a little bit more around the skills we're focused on. Overall, we think there's around 20,000 associates engaged in this, and that's through using it, through being trained in it, through attending communities about it. It's right at the heart of our digital transformation, and there to spark speed and innovation. It's there to unlock solutions for business problems by using digital technologies and capabilities. So you can see 4 of them are laid out there. The first is finding problems in a user-centric way. So this is leveraging design thinking. Once you've found the problem, we then look to solve it using data, analytics, and where possible, AI. And once you've worked out how to solve it, we want to automate that to free up time for associates to go around again and find the next problem. And in the middle, really driving it and accelerating it, is that agile behavior and mindset. It's absolutely critical. So looking in a bit more detail. So look, design thinking, I mean, it's fairly well known now, and this sort of user-centric approach. We've put around 15,000 associates through, and we call it a user centricity movement. But we've put those through, again, immersive events, some training, communities of practice, all of that sort of thing. But fundamental is that we really encourage associates to use it. I mean, I myself, I know I've probably had now 30 or 40 design thinking sessions, and it's used for strategic initiatives where we want to make sure we challenge each other by keeping our end user at the heart of our decision making. Moving on to the data and analytics piece. So you'll see here some external benchmarking that we've done over the last 3 years, and what we're rightly proud of is the progression, heading towards our ambition of being analytics leaders. And I've yet to see or even plot the 2020 result. I know pandemic might have had something to do with that, but we're surely close. And the momentum we've been building is allowing us to mature those capabilities faster than many of our peers. We have more than 17,000 associates engaged in some type of analytics work at Mars. And I know the pet care piece a little bit better. So last year that was 2,500 through some type of a training piece. This year we're doing 10 times that, or an ambition to do 10 times, 25,000 associates. Examples of where this is happening is in industry-wide acceleration to gain visibility of supply chain, inventory issues, operational issues. We've also got examples of predicting short-term demand in certain markets. And we think there's probably around 100 projects at the moment leveraging AI. One great example, which I know more about because I was a little bit involved, was from our Antech division, which is our pet diagnostics division. So they've developed an offering called Renal Tech, which is a breakthrough in predictive medicine. It's powered by artificial intelligence and basically takes the common serum and urine diagnostics that we do for cats to predict whether they will develop chronic kidney disease over the next 2 years. We're now getting to the point where we've got about a 95% accuracy. And this is a big deal for cats. It's one of the biggest problems that cats face in their older age. So for the last 150 years, it's been done by humans. And now Mars, for the first time ever, is competing with that. And our AI is starting to match, and who knows when will outperform the vets. And look, there's many other great examples. We can save more for the Q&A maybe. Automation. So that was the next one. So you can see here, look, 100 digital workers, and this is in our automation hub, over 300,000 hours of work benefiting our business. We're also seeing concepts like DevOps playing a much bigger role within our digital organization. I always like to think of it as our digital production line, and we're automating the various steps within that production line and the support functions. It's basically allowing the machines to complete the repetitive tasks that monopolize our associates' brain power, so that they can put their hearts and minds into delivering other innovative ideas and solutions. So I've mentioned speed and scale a couple of times. I mean, it used to be that speed and scale clashed with each other, and you just couldn't have both. And I'm hopefully starting to demonstrate, certainly within Mars, that that isn't the case anymore. We're able to deliver scale and speed across a broad set of areas. The most relevant, frankly, and recent example, was not that recent, I guess it was a year ago now, was the pandemic. So we needed to move 60,000 associates to home working in, frankly, a matter of days, and we did it. Now we're all living in a much more digital world, digital innovations and activities from ordering groceries, online, telemedicine, all while our business and our associates are relying on these digital collaboration tools and capabilities and processes to get work done and stay connected. And it's working. We're developing new digital channels and customer experiences as well, looking externally. And we're seeing consumer behaviors changing faster than ever before. So no one, and Dan, you mentioned this, no one can predict long-term trends with certainty, but we do feel, echoing what Dan said, that the best companies will emphasize these digital capabilities and associates with digital skills, so we can watch, listen, and carefully adapt to the consumer trends. And we've long held that our consumer, or the pet indeed, is our boss. And by using social listening, and that only happens with the consumer bit, so we haven't got as far as social listening for dogs yet. We use other user-centric models. We can understand unmet customer needs and pinpoint effective solutions. As I said, companies that do this quickly, leveraging these digital channels and capabilities, and the agile culture, we think will best serve consumers, customers, and communities today and tomorrow. And again, I'm overloading on pet examples, but you know, I only moved into pet in January, so I'm still super keen. Our pet care segment, whose purpose is a better world for pets, is now talking about a better world for pets powered by data. Yeah, so you can really see that playing out across the company. I want to show you two more videos. Hopefully I'm about on time. The first is, oh, that was my speed at scale now. The first is dogs on Zoom. So look, if I'd have said that to anybody 18 months ago, they would have looked at me like a crazy man. But our Pedigree brand team kicked off this Dogs on Zoom campaign. It was with virtual dog adoption events on the popular video-based conferencing platform that we're on today. The events aim to help pets find forever homes, ensuring the safety of prospective pet parents in the pandemic and shelter employees. Let's have a very quick look at some of the fun videos that we got. So like I say, who'd have thought we'd be doing that 18 months ago? But the same approach has been used in our veterinary business. So we had to quickly convert to moving online and doing virtual telemedicine for all those pets out there who guess what? They carried on getting sick and needed healthcare assistance. The second example is from our Mars Wrigley segment. It's something called Treat Town. It's another great example of moving quickly at scale. This Treat Town app we developed for our Mars Wrigley business was done in a highly agile and iterative way, with literally only months to land it, from effectively lockdown hitting us a year ago to then the October Halloween holiday season, which by the way is our biggest, mostly driven by the US because it's massive out there. And we did it. They moved the whole thing online, and it filled not just some of our business gap, but also actually a hole that's a big part of the celebration that was left in people's lives. So again, let's have a quick look at the video. It explains what we did.
At Mars, we believe the world we want tomorrow starts with how we do business today. And the Halloween of tomorrow starts with a world we'll unveil this fall. Introducing Treat Town. More tricks, more treats, more households than ever before. Treat Town will transform trick-or-treating into an interactive, inclusive, and child-safe month-long community experience. drive adoption, conversion, and sales for Mars and our retailers. And create a dynamic platform to support future holidays, partnerships, and global expansion. Welcome to the ultimate Halloween adventure.
And it was a great success. So literally hundreds of thousands of people on it, and we built it, in a matter of months. The only one I call out, again, staying with chocolate, was an initiative that M&M's and Snickers did. So they launched a lot of campaigns around the world to encourage chocolate gifting to people working in the NHS and other essential frontline workers, where if you gifted, Mars then matched it. So another example of moving online. So look, lots of isn't Mars amazing? I'm going to come back to the exam question and just wrap up with this last slide. So our 361 strategy, we launched about 2 years ago, and this is basically the approach as to how we want to build skills. So it's behavior led. It's looking for us to, you can see, first get zero distance to customer, so get closer to the customer consumer and that user centric focus, remembering the consumer or pet is our boss. To bring out thought leadership, in this case more digital thinking for our businesses, and to, as I said, unlock speed and agility. And to do this, we've identified 6 key skills that we felt we needed to unlock that 100x strategy. You'll see the 3 of them, and Dan hasn't paid me to do this. In fact, technically it's the other way around, isn't it? But 3 of them literally talk directly to what Multiverse is helping us with. So functional skills like digital marketing. We see the associates as custodians of our digital intellectual property across the company. So it's vitally important that they're equipped with the latest functional and technical knowledge from IT industry or external environments, the latest thinking, so we can apply, or they can apply, that knowledge to bring the best value and competitive advantage to Mars. You've got data and analytics. So look, I mean, it's been weaved throughout this presentation, but it's for associates to develop capabilities in this, and all about enabling us to better view data in the right context and make smarter business decisions. We're not saying we want everybody to be data scientists, but what we do need is we want everybody to be able to identify where improvements are needed and where trends are telling us to do things differently. And then finally, look, continuous learning. I even call it, I often say, unlearning and learning culture. It's absolutely foundational, and it's why we're partnering with companies like Multiverse to deliver on this. Continuous learning is essential for acquiring critical thinking skills. And look, it doesn't stop there. There's those other 3. So look, deeper relationships with the business is something we all need to focus on continually. The pace of change is such that unless we have those deep and ongoing relationships with customers, stakeholders, partners, whoever it might be, then everything we do, we just won't be able to respond in a relevant, agile and trusted manner. Agile, I've already mentioned it a number of times. It's at the heart of our digital engine. It leads to faster value creation, happier end users, and it can only be achieved if we have an agile culture running, living and breathing the values, principles, and behaviors of agile. And lastly, automation, last but not least. I talked about it taking on the repetitive tasks. It's a super powerful tool for new solutions, and consequently improves experiences and effectiveness. And like I said with data analytics, it's not that we want everybody to be an automation expert to go and get hold of Parrot or all of the different tools and techniques. But what we do want is our associates to recognize and understand how it works and where it can be applied. So it's about opportunity identification, as automating these processes can optimize our time and ultimately increase the value for our organization and us as individuals. So look, finish with the skill set. I'll pass back to Dan to introduce Luke. And as Dan said, I'm staying around for questions, so please either post them or stick your hand up at the end. Thanks very much.
Thanks so much, Matt. Fantastic. And as Matt says, we'll have time for questions at the end. I'm going to flip right over to introducing Luke, and Luke at Kantar before his presentation. So Luke has been part of Kantar for nearly 10 years, and for the past 5, he's been a member of the management team, dealing with day-to-day operations, while increasingly adopting greater responsibility for departmental strategy and growth. Luke currently manages the focus team in the evaluation operations department and deals with high-end, high-pressure clients. I know Luke has been on apprenticeships, has got people in his team on apprenticeships as well. In fact, I think quite a number of your direct team are on or have completed apprenticeships, Luke, so I'm sure there'll be people interested to ask you questions around that. And Luke's going to share how they're using apprenticeships at Kantar to build various levels of data capabilities across the organisation, again, including in his team. Over to you, Luke.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Luke Constable. Apologies in advance, I don't have any videos of cute dogs, so I'm going to struggle to compete with that. Yeah, I'm the focus team manager at Kantar. So I'll quickly explain to you exactly what that means and how we've tried to make the most of the apprentices that have come through Multiverse. So I work for Kantar's media division in the evaluation operations department, where we deal with media monitoring and reputation intelligence. So simply put, what that means is we read the media for our clients so they don't have to. We take mainstream and social media articles which are relevant to our clients. We evaluate them based on metrics that are important to the client. And then we take that raw data and we turn it into actionable insight for the client. So some of our biggest clients at the moment include Lloyds Banking Group, Shell, KFC, Sky, Goldman Sachs. We cover a lot of businesses in a lot of areas. What this means is that our analysts in our department, they have to deal with large, complex data sets. And for management, people such as myself, we need to constantly look for ways of improving our processes and making them more efficient. So as I say, I manage the focus team, and we deal with the more complex or demanding or lucrative contracts that we bring into the company. So I manage our senior analysts, and they tend to be more experienced and more skilled. So we know that we're giving our biggest clients the absolute best that we can to try and keep them happy. At the moment, as Daniel said, I'm currently dealing with a team of 10 at the minute, 4 of whom are on data science and project management programs, and they're all at different stages of the course. This is on top of another 3 people who've already completed apprenticeships with distinctions or merits. So it's been really good to see that the staff that we're enrolling on these courses, they're not just content with turning up, they really want to push themselves and compete with each other and get the most out of the experience and get the best grades that they can. This has had a really big impact on our business in various ways. Firstly, it's really helped us to bring consistency to how we train our staff, because we've been able to distinguish data science as its own unique discipline within the business among many other skills that are required for the job. So we can tailor our training activities accordingly, and our staff can start looking beyond their apprenticeships, and they can see it as a potential area of personal development for themselves. So in the case of our data science apprentices, what I've found is that people have gone and grown from being, seeing themselves as people that just have to deal with data as part of their jobs, to being data scientists in the making. So they can really kind of see a path ahead of them. So yeah, that ability to identify a career path for themselves has really helped them as individuals, but it's also allowed Cantar as a company to establish a learning culture, because we can provide them with the kind of opportunities that Multiverse can bring to the table. And it also shows as well that we're willing to invest in their careers and their futures, which is never a bad thing at all. And it aligns closely with a philosophy in our company called One Kantar, which encourages networking and collaboration across Kantar's various different opcos, as we've been able to get our apprentices to reach out to other people elsewhere, other brands with similar experiences elsewhere, to seek their advice, or perhaps even offer assistance in certain projects that are aligned with their interests, so they can further build experience for themselves. This allows us to push the need for innovation and to look for new solutions. And this is especially useful on my team, as the clients that we tend to deal with, they do require more complex data, they do require more love and attention. And so that gives us plenty of opportunities to look for new methods and ways of implementing time efficiencies which in turn gives us extra space to work on other elements of what we deliver to our clients. So there's a ballpark figure you can see on the screen there. I reckon we've made a time saving so far of around 15% across my team as a direct result of introducing data science techniques. So specifically by implementing data automation through things such as Python scripts to make the data for some of our biggest clients more manageable for our staff. And that's a really good start, but naturally we're looking to build upon that by deploying the same techniques to more projects throughout the entire department. So it's really good for our apprentices as it stretches them, as they can look to make an impact, not just on their own teams and their own clients and their own projects, but they can look at things elsewhere in the department and elsewhere in the business in general to put these skills to use. So just on the next slide, I'll go into some of the additional benefits to this, because in addition to learning about the course disciplines themselves, our apprentices have also been able to develop skills in other areas such as networking, collaboration, stakeholder communications. So not only do we end up with staff members with a new knowledge of a different learning area and all the new skills and tools and abilities that brings in, but we get a more rounded professional at the end of the course too. And throughout the year, we set personal objectives for each staff member, and we use those to guide their development and allow us to track their progress throughout the year. So many members of staff, they've been able to set objectives for themselves that are directly linked to their apprenticeships. So we've seen people setting objectives to achieve a distinction in their course, or to find ways of sharing their new knowledge with team members across the department, or objectives to build new tools and develop new ideas on the back of their new abilities. And that's been, from a personal perspective, it's been really rewarding, because I've seen the first-hand benefits that these courses have had on our apprentices. But it's also been rewarding for me too, because it's allowed me to test myself in different ways. So the main difficulty that I've had has been in managing my team's collective workload, as I've had to ensure that each of my apprentices has had enough capacity at key times and enough support to focus on what they need to do for Multiverse without neglecting their work. And that has brought out more in myself. I've had to learn to be better at doing that, and to make sure that I'm supporting my team at all times. And beyond that, I've realized that I'm now dealing with people who know a lot about subjects that I might not necessarily know much about. So in the case of my data science apprentices, they've got skills that I know I can't match myself, but this has pushed me to learn more so I can keep pace with them at the very least. So that's important for me as airline manager, as I need to be able to guide them to the right project so we can get full value out of this and reap the rewards. And it's also important to ensure that their urge to make the most of these new abilities is being satisfied fully. So just finishing by looking at what's next. We have a few things in the pipeline that are going to be influenced strongly by our apprentices that are bubbling away at the moment. So last year, we began developing a new concept for a range of standardized, fully automated reports. And this is basically a ready out-of-the-box product offering that focuses on a quick turnaround. So we've had some success so far in sending those to clients, but we know we're going to need more people that are able to work on those in the coming months as we look to scale up the operation. So naturally, data science apprentices, they're going to be equipped to handle this and to innovate further. And I've also got an apprentice on my team who's looking to adapt that idea by building a more complex design-driven version, which can be adapted and stylized according to the client's preference. And that will just give us a wider range of options that we can present whenever we pitch for new business. And lastly, we've also had some management vacancies open up in the department very recently, and all of our management apprentices have so far shown an interest in applying. So once again, it's just evidence that these new skills are equipping our people to do more, to push themselves further and find new challenges. And that's exactly what we want to see. So it's been really successful for us. And that's it from me.
Fantastic. Thanks, Luke. I could see Matt there scribbling down some notes as well. So hopefully you both got value from each other's presentation as well. Now's the time, everyone, to add in your questions in the Q&A box at the bottom. Whilst you're doing that, I've noted down a few questions of my own as well, just a few follow-up questions from the two different presentations. And of course, Matt and Luke, if you have any questions for each other as well, that would be great.
That was what I was scribbling down. It was a question.
Oh, sure. Well, why don't we kick off there then?
Okay. Well, okay. Yeah. Thanks, Luke. And it's great to see a fellow digital transformer, if you like, at work. The question I had was about networking and how you've seen. You talked about that being a real benefit from the scheme. How has that changed, or how have you had to adapt it, given what's been going on over the last year? And have you seen the benefits of that diminish at all, or has it been okay?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's been a big challenge for our teams to kind of adjust to everything that's happened in the past year, as it has been for everybody. But I mean, that's another value of these apprenticeships I found as well. It's offered a certain consistency because there's still that one constant in the background. They're still working on their apprenticeship. But I think what it's done is for people in certain roles that maybe don't require a lot in the way of communicating with different stakeholders day to day, the apprenticeships have given them an opportunity to get used to the basic mechanics of talking to people that you might not necessarily know on a daily basis. So I think it's allowed people to go back to one of my points, the kind of extra skills around the actual discipline that they're learning about. I think we've seen a lot there. So I think it's brought out another kind of challenge for people, but it's been handled really well. When you mentioned in your presentation about how you just had a matter of days to try and get everyone working from home, it was it's a huge challenge, and it's very similar to what we had to go through. But everyone's adapted to it extremely well, and it's no coincidence that because I deal with a lot of apprentices, my team were really comfortable in doing that, and the apprentices that have had some experience in this side of things, they just took it in their stride perfectly well, perhaps more so than those that haven't had this experience behind them. So I've definitely seen a benefit to that side. It's
a good example of what, like I say, the unlearn versus learn. I think one of the things I love about the apprentices is typically they'll and early talent, if you like, is they're more of a blank sheet of paper, and they've got like a sponge, whereas old dinosaurs like me need to unlearn all our old habits and then relearn all the new habits, and it is just harder. So it's a good example, I think, of that as well.
I was going to ask about that learn and unlearn, and for you to expand on that a little bit. So that's great that you've already done that, Luke. In terms of because going back to Matt's question around the networking and how apprentices are able to kind of network during COVID, have you found that it's mainly they're networking within their open cohorts, or are they in closed cohorts at Kantar, or just with other people at Kantar? Or are they networking through the community hub that Multiverse offers, or how are they kind of speaking to other people outside of their bubble?
I think, generally speaking, what we found is with each cohort, it brings those individuals closer together. So that's been really good for us because we have lots of different teams, and it means that a lot of the time you might, or at least before COVID, you'd occupy the same office space as certain people that you'd never talk to day to day, but they've become a lot closer through the apprenticeship. I think as well we've taken a lot of time and effort to kind of advertise what's going on with this within our own business. So we're not, it's no use to us just sending people on an apprenticeship and good for them. Like, we want to make sure that everyone in our department knows that this is an avenue we're opening up to push that learning culture, like I mentioned. So what we've done to that end is we've made sure that if we're sending a new cohort on a new program, we'll let people know so they can pick their brains. So on my team at the moment, I've got someone who has completed a data science course. I've got someone who is just about finishing up. I've got someone that's a few months into it, and they've formed their own group on our team Slack channel, for instance. So they communicate every day, and as part of my ongoing challenge to make sure I understand what the kids these days are up to, I'm in it too. So I read what they're doing, and every now and again I have to scribble down, what does that mean? I have to go away and learn it, or I spend more time with them to find out, what it is that they're talking about in the first place. But it's been quite organic, and that's been quite pleasing. And I think that does naturally come from the fact that they've got a network as part of the apprenticeship. They bring that skill back in, and they think, well, I've got this idea. I don't want to just do it on my own. I need someone to bounce ideas off. Luckily, I've got people around me that are ideal for the job. So they form their own little groups and enclaves and working groups, which has been really satisfying to see.
Great, thank you. And Matt, I noticed that you had a really interesting chart as part of your presentation. It's one I'd not seen before, actually, about that kind of sliding scale of Mars digitally as a kind of digital organization. What was that actually tracking, and how do you track that? Because I think there's going to be a few people on the call who, they are in like larger organizations, and we often ask our clients, how are you tracking the impact of your work, and what metrics are important to you, so that we can know whether or not we're being successful or not when we're launching these programs. So what metric is it that you're tracking there, and how do you reach that number? How do you know you're doing well?
Yeah, so we have to, it's just a classic external benchmarking exercise, if you will. I won't name the company that we use, but I'm sure we pay them way too much to do it. But yeah, so I have to admit, I cannot profess to exact methodology, but it's a it'll be a, it's a big global company who carries out this sort of thing with many other companies. So it's benchmarkable.
Yeah.
And
you have a target.
Well, our target is to become analytics leaders. That was the little slightly coloured section. I think it was top 10%, if you like. And you can see we'd got top quartile. And the key here is that everybody is well, frankly, if you're not already on the bandwagon of realizing that data and analytics might be important to your future as a business, then you're probably already out of business. But in general, everybody's on this journey. The point is, we're trying to do it faster than our competition and our peers. And at the moment, we're doing that. And it really played out, I think. Again, you look at the last year, and it's the cliched joke that's doing the round, isn't it? About who did your digital transformation? Was it the CIO, the CEO, or was it COVID? And I think the answer, in truth, is it's accelerated 2, 3, 5 years ahead in the matter of, like Luke said, felt at the time a year ago, in the matter of days. There was certainly some creaking going on as we switched it all on, but we have seen that having that foundation. I can talk to our pet business, that we were direct to consumer ready. We had digital channels up and running. They certainly weren't as mature and capable as we'd have liked them to be, but they were already there, and in places we were ahead of the competition, and we have weathered the storm fairly well. We have won market share, and you don't have to look too far around to see that other companies have not.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got a couple of questions on that, actually, because it seemed like automation was a theme of both of the presentations when it came to, the real time savers for where digital skills start having a real impact on business outcomes is when we can automate processes to free up time for the more human things that we can't automate. And Luke, I was interested that as you're essentially a client-facing team, how you're able to have so many people on an apprenticeship at one time, when people presumably have targets, they've got clients demanding time, they've got the 20% off the job commitment that an apprenticeship demands, but then also you mentioned there's that time saving of 15% that you've actually got out of it. Does that include the time commitment of the program, and how do you kind of judge how many people can go on a program and manage that 20% commitment whilst also getting the time saving back that automation offers?
That's a very good question. It's not been as hard as I might have anticipated, if I'm honest. I did think that would be hard, but because the first few people that we sent on courses, they were able to implement things almost immediately. And it was only kind of small shortcuts to begin with, but it was carving open just a little pocket at a time. And once that starts happening, it just made me realize that, well, if that's one person that's made that change, what if we send more people? Like how, let's multiply that impact. So yeah, I mean, coming up with that 15% figure, I mean, it is a rough ballpark figure because the nature of our kind of department and our job here, it's all very sort of process driven. There's lots of tiny little component parts that make up a deliverable that go that we would send out to a client. So it's very hard to come up with an exact figure, but I think that 15%, I'm probably excluding the time that it would have taken for people to acquire the knowledge in the first place. But it kind of it's fairly it meshes in the sense that, as I say, the first few apprentices were able to bring in changes straight away. Then we sent more, and the cohorts are kind of rolling along. So yeah, I mean, we if we didn't see those early changes, then it would have been harder for me to justify sending more people. But it's been fairly easy for me to go back to my higher ups and say, this is working. We're having positive results as a consequence of this. So let's do more of it. But underpinning all that, the important thing is you have to make sure that the apprentices that you're enrolling in the first place are the right candidates. They need to know what they're signing up for, because it is going to take some commitment from them as well. It isn't entirely just doing stuff during work. I know there's a certain amount that is on the job training that they have to do through relevant projects, but they also need to know that they're going to have to put a shift in on their own time as well, to an extent, and they've done that because they see it as a good opportunity.
And it's about role fit as well, isn't it? If they're going to be applying that learning on their job, they need to have the ability, and certainly we look for that when people are applying, to kind of put that, not a barrier into entry, but essentially just that checkpoint to make sure that people are going to be able to apply the learning. Because certainly if people don't have the ability to apply the learning, they're not going to be successful on program, because they need to apply the learning in order to pass. So presumably you're also saying, well, I can see where these skills fit in, because I think it's interesting. I know we're here talking about digital skills, but Luke, you've got people on project management, on leadership, and on data, all in that one team. So are you kind of just looking at the suite of programs and applying individually to roles, or how are you kind of making a decision who goes on what?
I think for the most part, like with the data science apprenticeship, that was fairly straightforward, because we deal with data every day, so we need ways of making things more efficient. And obviously, being an operations department, that's 95% of my job, is just trying to make things as efficient as possible. And when it comes to other courses, like the kind of project management side, it's more trying to identify personal objectives for people. Like some of the people, the first round of cohorts that we sent on the project management course, these were people that we knew it would suit them, the kind of projects that they're taking on and the strengths that they're showing. We know that if we polish them up a little bit more, they could kind of end up doing another job over here. So it would be difficult for us if we sent everybody on the kind of data science path, because that isn't all that we do. We need other people to manage them and oversee projects. So we need to make sure that we're getting a good mix based on what those how often those skills are necessary to our day-to-day functions. So yeah, a lot of it is just trying to identify, first and foremost, who would benefit from this, and then what value could they bring in. So as I said, at the end, we've got people that are kind of fighting amongst themselves to be the best candidate now for a management role, and they wouldn't have had that confidence or knowledge before doing courses through Multiverse. So again, it's just kind of prepping the next wave of people that are going to make a difference to the business.
Great, thank you. And Matt, I was kind of thinking around automation again. You mentioned one of the kind of key areas was actually identifying areas for automation. Now, obviously, you can teach someone how to automate a process, right? You can teach them the digital skills there, but it seems like actually there are other skills. How do you teach someone to be able to identify an opportunity? Because that's a slightly different skill, isn't it? Identifying an opportunity to automate is different to automating itself. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is. And I think it's, well, we do it a lot through using examples. So this isn't something that takes days and weeks and months, not like the depth that you get off an apprenticeship, but we do it by, I mean, first of all, bringing some actual examples. And in fact, when you asked the question, it reminded me, one of the aspects of automation is actually trying to get, because we're human, trying to get over the fear that, and you see it in the press, that robots are going to take over our lives. Yeah, and it's amazing. If you go and actually research it, I believe the first time that type of a headline was written in a newspaper was actually in the late 1800s. That automation was going to take all our jobs, and it was to do with, and then, I mean, there was a wave around when email and PCs rolled out that, I believe we had like around 1 million people doing sort of secretarial typing work in the UK, and there was this enormous, oh my goodness, they're all going, and the point is automation. So the first boundary actually is to get people over that sort of fear that, crikey, if I put my hand up and say, look, I think half my job could be automated, that I'm not going to be fired. And then certainly that is absolutely not the case. It's, again, it's to free up time for people to go and do and think. And look, one of the ways is, like I said, we use real examples. So we've got enough in Mars now that we can start to use real examples. But linking back to data, we actually also do an incredible amount of data analysis to try and identify automation opportunities. So there are certain tools that you can plug in, and they can monitor what's going on, and they're looking at what people are doing and what transactions are happening and how they're being done and how many times they're done, and can they be, how repeatable is it, and that gives us a wealth of opportunity as well. So it's that type of thing that we do. But it's bringing it to life, making it real with actual examples. That is the most powerful thing.
Great. And final question from me, and then I think we'll wrap up. And it's completely gone from my head. Oh yeah, that was it. So we've talked a lot about actually quite highly technical skills today. We've talked a lot about data science, automation. What would you say are the kind of, if we look forward into the next 5 or 10 years, what are the broader skills that almost everyone's going to need? Because when we look at email coming in however many years ago, it was quite a niche skill. There was only one person who had the email address, and now suddenly Microsoft Office or G Suite or whatever it is are accessed by almost every worker. What do you think are the data skills that you will see required at almost every job role over the next kind of 5 or 10 years? And I'll leave that to you both to kind of, if you've got a thought, to jump in.
It's the big question, isn't it? It's the whole when you look at the next generation, and for me, it's my kids, that it's, what do they say, it's sort of 80% of the jobs they're going to do don't even exist yet. So I'm not sure any of us, unless Luke has got the magic answer, 42 I believe, isn't it, but have got the precise answer to that. But I would say, look, I think it's going to build on this. I do think, I mean, it's interesting when you look at data analytics, like actually the how right now the data scientists are looking at the data and coming up with the algorithms and the sort of non-correlations. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how AI can start to actually do that bit, which right now, so we used to have humans looking at data. Now we've got humans asking computers to look at data, and now it's going to be computers, AIs asking the algorithms and looking at the algorithms and improving the algorithms that are looking at the data. And in fact, the humans move up a tier again and are working with the AIs, because I think you only need to look at the press to see how, if you just leave the AIs all by themselves, all sorts of crazy stuff can happen. And you get into the whole ethics of AI and all of that. But I do see that more of that. So it's starting to automate the people who are building who are the automators, if that makes sense, and that's how it'll keep going. And how data analytics, I mean, forgot time, there's a great story which because one of the barriers to this is getting the leadership bought in. And I know our fairly recent, I mean, over 3 years now, but still fresh in mind, the new CDO, Chief Digital Officer, Sandeep Dadlani, and he's been, testament to, or hands down to him for driving a lot of this. But one of the things he did is he took the board out to China, and he took them to see a dairy company. And they went into this dairy company, and there was our various presidents and things, and they talked to the CEO, and they said, also talk us through what we're looking at. As there's all these people sat in a big office, and he said, so this is these are our data scientists, and you've got sort of some IT guys over in the corner. And they said, oh right, this is your data scientist. Okay, so I thought this was your company. I didn't realize this is just your IT department. And the CEO looked at him and said, no, this is my company. He said, yeah, this is our marketing team of data scientists looking at all the marketing data. Here's our sales team, data scientists looking at all the sales data. Here's our product team that are doing A/B testing. And it was a very online sort of, but it was a product, it was dairy products. And you saw, and apparently I wasn't there, but apparently it was this sort of jaw-dropping moment of truth of like, oh my goodness, this is a CPG business where everybody is a data scientist. And now Mars is a supremely more complex business than the 100 people business that was, but it's that type of provocations that that's what the future is going to move towards.
Great, thank you. I think I heard that story in my first meeting with Mars as well, about a year ago as well. So
there you go. I love it. I think it's a great
story. And Luke, finally from you, just to wrap us up, same question, I guess. What do you think are the broad skills that everyone is going to need, in the future as it relates to data? Are we all going to be data scientists, or what level do you think? I have no data knowledge myself, really. I don't use Tableau yet, or SQL. Do you see those tools becoming more ubiquitous and in everyone's role over the next kind of 5 or 10 years?
I think to an extent, I think there'll be a certain kind of base knowledge of data science that I think people are going to need to kind of get on board with fairly early. And beyond that, I think
there's a bit, sorry Luke, I think there's a bit of noise in, your sound's gone funny. I don't know if you want to mute and unmute, or just give your computer a whack. No,
is that any better?
It's still very Dalek-y. Not really sure how to fix that. Sorry. Give it one more go.
Any better now?
No,
maybe?
No. It's still very well. We're nearing the end anyway, but I'm sure. Yeah, if you fast fingers, you could type it in the chat and I can read it out for you. But I think.
So I would say, just to help Luke out, then I would say yes. You struggle, so I would challenge you, Dan, to think about how, and that I bet you could probably surprise yourself that you probably are using data in some way. I bet when you're looking.
Oh no, absolutely, I'm using it, but it's just the analysis itself. I'm not performing.
Well, it's and trying to spot those non-obvious correlations and all of that sort of stuff is. I mean, the point is they're non-obvious, and sometimes you can't do it. So I mean, certainly in Mars, it's one of the base foundational skills that we see. Like I say, it's a real struggle to think of a job where you couldn't apply it. Now, it's always various degrees, of course. As I said, we don't want everybody to be a data scientist, but understanding how back to my pet care purpose, a better world for pets powered by data, how every one of our associates can be thinking data like they think about using email or phones or the internet, which are also all relatively new. How in 5-10 years everyone's thinking data and just very conversant, and
social listening for dogs. That's what I took away from your presentation. I think that's the next horizon.
To be honest, we don't do social listening, but if you go and have a look at we've got Whistle and Wisdom. Dogs can't talk, and we're developing techniques using data and some of the analysis we can do to pets to give them a voice, because we can work out why they're upset.
Wow.
So it's not quite monitoring their Facebook feed. It's but you can listen to them.